So my deeper why is that I wanted self-worth and self-love. And I thought by getting the body, losing the weight, finally looking acceptable to myself in the mirror, then that's when self-worth and self-love would come around. But I had it completely backwards. So I wanted to try something a little different today. It's starting to get nice and warm here in Georgia, and I love being outside. So thought I would change up the scenery a little bit and just come have a nice little chat with you. Because I've been thinking about kind of my next phase in my health journey, and I've been planning that out. And I was sitting there thinking, wow, a lot's changed since I started this journey a couple of years ago, because I never used to plan really anything, but especially not my weight loss journey and how to get healthier and what that actually looks like on a day-to-day basis. And so I wanted to share that with you because I think that would be helpful for anybody, whether you're just starting or you've been doing this for a while. I think it's always nice to get a reminder of the simplicity of what this really takes. And I want to tell you why that matters. And I'll break this up into 3 parts of, the problem that I had a few years ago, what really changed for me, and then maybe some things that you could try to see if it works in your own life. So for, just to kick this off, the problem for me a few years ago is that I've always just been a dreamer. Since I can remember, I always envisioned myself at the top of the mountain, and being at the top of the mountain, the finish line, whatever you want to call it. But I never thought about how to actually get there. I always just got inspired, and then I started shooting from the hip. That's my personality, my temperament. So not saying, there's something wrong with me. It's just I had to become very mindful of how I attacked these things. And so the problem for me was whenever I would get inspired to lose weight and get healthy, I just thought about being skinny, and then I started shooting from the hip. And that looked like a lot of different things. To save you from the details, it always kind of failed. And I would always wonder, why it wouldn't work, right? I would be doing pretty well at the short term, while inspiration was still high and motivation was still high. And then I would lose that motivation and I would kind of crash and burn and go back to my old habits and my old life. And so I had to realize, first I'll say I had to get a lot of clarity and vision. And that's what this whole video is going to be about, is clarity and vision. Because without that, you're going to be lost. Without that, you're probably not going to get very far. And so that was my problem, is I always thought about the end goal, but never the path on how to get there, the details of what actually needs to take to be able to get there. And a lot of things happened that made me realize this, that just kind of changed my approach on how I needed to show up for myself. And what that really looked like was actually sitting down and mapping that out before I went into the woods. Someone said one time that you need to look at the map before you go into the woods. And I thought that was really clever, but stupid simple, right? Whenever you think about going on a road trip, you don't just get in your car and start rolling. You kind of plan out your trip. Where are we stopping? How long is it going to take to get there? But a lot of times when people are trying to get healthy and lose weight, they're just essentially working off of motivation and inspiration. And it's like, we'll shoot from the hip and we'll figure it out, as we go. And so I had to get really clear on why I wanted to do this and how I was going to do this. And so that's really what changed for me, is because I started putting in the work to figure out those 2 massive things. I needed clarity on why I was doing this and actually how to do it in a way that fits my life personally. I think a lot of people focus on strategy whenever they're, and this is for anything. This isn't just for weight loss and health. It's for anything. But I think we really lose that ambition and vision when we're talking about health and weight loss, because it is always much deeper than just strategy alone. A lot of it comes from the story that you tell yourself, your ego, the state that you're in. And so by sitting down and thinking about the why and the how, that will give you a lot of clarity on where to start and how to actually get there. And so that's really what changed for me. The why is usually when you write that down and you actually start thinking about this, the first why you come up with, it's normally surface level, which isn't a bad thing. You just have to realize that a lot of times there's always a deeper why under that surface level why. What does that mean? Let me explain that. So when people are sitting there, and one, because this is hard, like if you're sitting down writing or, you're talking to somebody and they're like, well, why do you want to do this? Most people answer like they're in an interview or they're, answering a survey, and they talk about the surface level why. So for example, for me, when someone's like, why are you doing this? I was like, well, I want to look good and I want to make people close to me proud. That sounds like a nice answer in the grand scheme of things, but it took me a while to realize that my true why underneath that answer was that I wanted to have self-love and self-worth. And I thought by making other people proud that I would feel that way. And that wasn't true. That wasn't true at all. So my deeper why is that I wanted self-worth and self-love. And I thought by getting the body, losing the weight, finally looking acceptable to myself in the mirror, then that's when self-worth and self-love would come around. But I had it completely backwards. I had to do a lot of work on figuring out why I was worthy and why I deserved love, which then allowed me to stick with my plan of getting healthy and losing weight long term. The self-worth and the self-love comes first. And I had to realize that by sitting down and talking about my why with myself, just sitting in silence, doing deep thinking, writing it down, contemplating of, what is this? Why am I doing this to start with? Is this for other people or is this for myself? And it wasn't really that easy of me just sitting down and writing it down. Like I had things happen in my life that kind of forced me to think that way, which I'm glad they happened. But in the grand scheme of things, I think people don't need some external event to happen to have this click. I mean, that's literally why I'm making this video, is so that hopefully this will give you clarity on the first steps and to really take the time to do this. So that's the why aspect. Then you have to have clarity on the how. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of different strategies to be able to accomplish health and weight loss goals. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right? There's 1,000 ways to get healthy and lose weight. A lot of people argue about this, and I think that's why it's such a hot topic in our world and our culture, is that, people want to shout from their rooftops that, say carnivore or animal-based is the way to go, or veganism or vegetarianism or calorie deficits. That's the way to go. That's the right way. Well, I'm here to tell you, they're all the right way. And they're all the wrong way. It all depends on you. It depends on your life, your current state, your lifestyle, your situation, right? I found that animal-based was best for me because it's how I love to eat, but it also fit my lifestyle, what I'm comfortable doing. And I've stuck with that long term. That was the puzzle piece that I found that allowed me to do this for over 2 years and stick with it. So a couple of things I could suggest to you that you could do to figure this out for yourself is sit there and write down your why. Start with that. And when you write that down, read it back and question, is this really my why? Or is there something deeper to it? Explore that. Don't be scared of that. And again, you don't have to share this with anybody. You can write this in a journal or just sit there and contemplate it within your own mind. But just ask yourself, get really real with this answer of your first why that you write down. Is that really it? Or is there something deeper there on an emotional state? It's going to give you more clarity, make something click so that you can actually start chasing that feeling, that lack. The why under the why is usually because you're lacking something. You could put this into a framework of money, career, family, health, weight loss. But usually that deeper why stems from something that you don't have. For me at the time, a few years ago, and for the past couple decades, I've struggled with self-worth issues and self-love issues. And so I thought my why was to always just look better and make other people proud. But the deeper why was to finally feel self-worth and self-love. So again, what I would suggest for you is sit down, write that down. And then after you have your why and you have a little bit of clarity on that, think about how you're going to do this. If you are following this channel and you're following what I've put out so far, which hasn't been a lot, I'm just kind of getting this channel started. I've talked about how I did it with an animal-based diet. If you want to take that route, that's great. I'm here to answer your questions and give you guidance on that. But I'm never going to tell you that that is the end all be all. And that's the only way that that you have to do this, or that the only way you're going to succeed. You need to write out like specific questions and then find a strategy that's going to fit like a puzzle piece in your life. That may be why you have failed in the past, is by trying to fit a wonky puzzle piece into your lifestyle. You know, are you working in a day job every single day, sitting in an office? Do you need to lose 10 pounds or do you need to lose 100 pounds? Are you good at cooking or do you hate cooking? Do you eat out every single meal? Do you have kids? Are you single? Are you married? Right? Everybody's different. So everyone's situation is different. So your how is going to be different. And now I've tried a lot of things in my life, so I'm very educated and on different hows. So I can definitely help you in this channel dive deeper into those things and guide you onto what's the best decision for you. But ultimately, you have to answer that question for yourself. How are you going to do this? And so that may be Monday through Friday. You know, you're going to be eating a paleo diet. What does that look like? How does that system work, right? Something that I forgot to mention is that a lot of people think discipline is the answer and that that's going to be the key for success. But designing a system is way better and way more effective than trying to chase discipline every single day. If you design a system for your life that works for you, you're going to be able to stick to this long term. Even when things get hard, you'll have the integrity to bounce back because that system is right for you. And so it doesn't matter what you do, right? I mean, a lot of people even talk about how they still eat everything they love, fast food and junk food, but they just stay under a calorie deficit and they lose weight. That's awesome. My goal is more so health driven. I want my body to be feeling good every single day. I want to have more energy. I want to be aligned with what I'm doing and my values. So eating junk food and just trying to have little portions to stick under a calorie deficit, that's never going to work for me. For you, that may work great. So again, sit down and think through these things. This isn't the end all be all. It's just kind of the start. And I think sometimes we need a reminder of how simple this can be. And so that's really the only thing I wanted to talk about today, because I feel like I can get ahead of myself sometimes and I want to cram all the information into one video or, one little monologue. But let me know if this resonates. Let me know if this clicks with you for clarity. And if it does, please leave a comment. I'm not making these videos for views or subscribers. That's all great and wonderful. I'm doing this to try and build a community because I know how this feels to do this fairly alone, maybe with one or two other people, and I think it's a lot easier to go far when you have a group of people trying to strive for the same goal. And that's what I'm trying to build here, with my YouTube channel. And I'm trying to do it my way, right? I get stuck sometimes in the tips and the tricks of, what people are saying online of thumbnails and titles. And yeah, I think that's all important, but it really just comes down to who I am and what I'm doing and the value that I'm providing to you, the person watching this. And so I want to get to know you better. I want to connect with you. I want to understand what your struggles are, where you are in your path. You could be just starting this process, or you could be months or years into it. It's never too late to recalibrate, stop, pause, and go back to the drawing board and see what your efforts are actually doing for you. I mean, think about going on a road trip, right? You could be halfway, say, like I live here outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and say I'm driving to California. I'm not just going to white knuckle the steering wheel and drive, 36 hours to California. Like, I'm going to take breaks. I'm going to stop, take a bathroom break, grab a coffee, look at the map, see where see how far I've gone, see where I'm going, what direction, what route I'm going to take. Is there a more efficient way? This is the same thing. You can pause, think, reflect, do some deep thinking, some soul searching, and see if what you're doing is working for your life. This shouldn't be necessarily very hard. You shouldn't be like pulling teeth every day doing this. When I got clear on my why and my how, that's when, people say everything clicked. It's because things got simple. I started understanding that. And then my days flowed better. Me planning my meals flowed better. Me wanting to go walk and lift weights and all of these things, like that all started just fitting into place because it aligned with who I am, my lifestyle, my situation, where I am right now. If I had a few kids and an office job, would I have been able to do what I did? I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like because that wasn't my situation. And so do that deep searching. And if this helped you, please let me know. Would love to hear from you, but I'll stop my rambling and just say thank you for watching this. If you're still here in this video, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I hope there's other videos in the past and in the future that also bring you value. And I hope to see you around on the next one. But until then, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you then.